Hey friends, welcome back to another tutorial with Jones by Kelly. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make an adjustable ring, this one specifically. So let's get started. First of all, let's go over our tools. You will of course need a stone. I've picked this gorgeous Arusha sunstone to work with. You're going to need 21 gauge wire or 18 gauge depending on the size of your stone. This Larimar is larger, so I did use 18 gauge round on this one. I'll be using 21 gauge round for the Arusha sunstone. You will also need a ring mandrel, a bench block, a hammer, flush cutters, tweezer nose pliers, and nylon pliers. So to get started, I've already cut about 8 inches of 21 gauge round dead soft copper wire. I've cut 3 pieces in total, and then we're going to use 22 gauge half round copper wire to bind them together. So we're going to find about the center of our wires. We'll make sure that they're nice and straightened out here for us. And then we'll take our half round, and we're going to start this just like we would a cage pendant if we were binding the wires together on the bottom of the cage pendant. So I'm just going to wrap that a few times just to kind of hold it in place. Grab our nylon pliers and just flatten it out so our wires aren't overlapping each other. Just like that. Now we're going to spin our work instead of our wires since we're using half round. That way our half round does not get twisted on us. And we're going to bind these together so it's wide enough that the base of our stone can sit on it easily. Then every few turns we're going to slide these down and then flatten to make sure we're staying about the same width all the way along. And then we'll go ahead and check with our stone, maybe just a couple more wraps and we'll be good. Alright, let's go ahead and snip our half round off. And we're going to cut this side of the half round off as well, making sure that both ends of the half round are on the same side of your piece. Alright, we're going to go ahead and slide these. Let me cut these both just a little bit shorter here. You don't want them hanging out over the edge. There we go, that's better. Alright, now we'll go ahead and slide this so it's in the middle of our wires. I make sure it's in the middle by using my hand to measure. So the tip of my nail is right where the binding of the wire stopped, and that's where the wires end. So we'll spin our work and measure the same way. Tip of the nail at the bottom of the binding wires, and that's where it stops. We're going to slide this back just a little bit. Get it more in the center. Now, if you have a mandrel to help you make circle shapes or oval shapes, you're more than welcome to use this now. That would be what one of these looks like. I'm not going to use that in this in case not everybody has it. We can easily take our stone, or you can even take like a round pen. Let me show you with a pen. Like a round pen that's similar in size, just to get a shape started. So the ends of our wires want to go in towards the stone so that they're not sticking out to get caught on clothing or scratch anybody. And go ahead and crisscross your wires. Now we can check our size, adjust from there. I definitely need to be smaller. Now this is where the tricky part's going to come in, especially if you're working with a smaller stone like what I am. The back wires need to be made smaller. So we're going to take our tweezer nose pliers and just help push that circle in a little bit further. And same with this one, the last wire, push it in a little bit further. All right, and where these two wires crisscross, we're gonna go ahead and bend them up. Just like that. Now those other two wires on either side, I'm just gonna go ahead and bend them out wider just for now so that we can uncrisscross all of our wires. Makes it a little bit easier to work with them at this point. All right, so you've got the two back wires. Now we're looking at the front. So the two back wires are bent in further. You can make adjustments where you need them. Just like that. Now, as we're looking at the front, since we bent those other wires out of the way, what we're going to do is put our stone in the middle here. We're going to take the middle of the three wires, so we can go ahead and push these in tighter around our stone for a moment. The middle wire, so we've got our back wire, our middle wire, and our front wire. So the middle wires we're going to push in so that the bend is right up against our back two wires. Now these front wires, we're going to pull forward over the stone, and we are going to crisscross them. But before we do that, we're going to actually start binding these four bottom wires together. And we're just going to use half round to do that. You want to make sure your side wire is not going back too far. So let's go ahead and bend our back wires up on our stone a little bit. You especially want to do this if you've got a pretty thick stone that you're working with. But you don't want to bend them up too far because you want this ring to lay pretty flat along your finger. All right, so we're going to take our half round. We're just going to thread it through here, just enough so that I can hold it. I'm actually going to cut me a long piece of wire so that I can turn the wire here to begin with. All right, so just like before, go ahead and flatten this down so that all 4 of your wires are sitting next to each other. And we're just going to do about 5 or 6 wraps here. All right, now that you've got a few wraps around these 4 wires here, we're going to hold off on wrapping any more. Let's go ahead and cut a short end on this side and tuck it down. Now with these 2 top wires, we're going to secure these really quick before we move forward. We're just going to take 1 wire, come across the stone, so we are crisscrossing wires here, get it nice and tight, and you'll notice that the wire is coming up to the top of the stone just a little bit. You don't need to come up a lot. And we're going to go ahead and cut this wire now. And then we're going to crisscross with our other wire. Again, nice and snug so it's not going anywhere. And then we'll go ahead and snip that end off. And once you've got them cut and secure it down in place, you can go back and straighten the wires a little bit, adjust them a little bit on the top of your stone to get it looking the way that you want it to. And now your stone's set and it's not going anywhere. So now all we have to do is finish wrapping this. And now that those other wires are out of the way, you can easily turn your work, or you can keep using the half round to spin around since we cut it off the spool. And every few wraps, go ahead and flatten it down. Make sure it's not going to go anywhere. Now on the Larimar one, I did do a weave all the way around. That is absolutely an option for you. It's using the same basic concept. We bound this part the same way that we started there. I just used 28 gauge round on this instead of the half round. So that's also an option for you to do the weaving on this band if you want. Just make sure you start the weave before you secure these top wires, so that the end of your weave you can overlap with these top wires to help secure that weave in place so it's not going to move on you. If you are aiming for a certain size but still want it to be adjustable, you can, in my other ring tutorial that is not an adjustable ring, you can access that one here on YouTube as well. You'll see at the beginning of it I use a scrap wire to measure the size of ring that we're going for. You can also do that on this one. So if you're aiming for about a size 8 or a 9, whatever the size may be, but you know you may have problems like what I do with your fingers swelling and so you want it to be adjustable, you can still use that scrap piece of wire to know how long you need to bind this part for. So let me show you what I mean by that. Let me grab a scrap piece of wire really quick. If we take a ring mandrel and say we're going for, you know, size 8, let's do a size 8. We're going to take that scrap wire, we're going to wrap it around the mandrel at size 8. And then where the wires overlap, we're going to go ahead and make a snip. Straighten it back out. So now from the bottom of our stone up to where our binding would be, we would go about here for the binding. So let's do that really quick and I'll show you how that works. Let's check, see how far I've gone. So I need to go a little bit further. Let me straighten my wire a little bit better. It's bent. Just to make sure we're getting an accurate size. Alright, so I'm just going to go around like 3 more times. And then we'll go ahead and end it. So I'm going to cut here now, and I want the end of my wrap or your weave, the wire to finish on the top side of the ring. So same side as where your stone is face up. Now we're going to go ahead and curl these around. So I'm going to bring this one around really tight as I can to make that first twist with, and we're going to give it a nice little snip. And then you could just use your tweezer nose pliers to curl it in, just to make a little circle there. Alright, now we're going to take our next one and bring it around the same way. Alright, these next two I'm going to bend together just so they follow kind of the same curve. Like so. Now we're going to cut what used to be, you know, the outside over here is now the inside for us. So we're going to cut the inside one a little bit shorter. And make a little curl. While I'm curling this one, I'm holding it in place between my thumb and finger, so I'm not uncurving right there. Alright, so same thing again, hold it in place. We're going to bring this one around that last curl we just did. And then we're going to actually go all the way around the ring band. And cut just the very end off of this. Just like that. So now we're going to get our ring mandrel out. We're aiming for a size 8. So I'm going to put our stone directly on the size 8, and I'm going to hold that stone there so we're not bending the stone at all while we bend this around the ring mandrel. And you can see they're going to touch there. So what I do is just angle it just like that. I just bend it sideways from each other. We'll put it back on our ring mandrel. Hold that stone flat in place. Alright, and then it's time to hammer. So we're going to start hammering here on the curls. And I am leaving my thumb over the stone just to make sure I don't accidentally hit that stone. And you can see as we come around, this part wants to pop up away. So we can just hammer it back in place, but we're going to re-hammer it again at the end. And remember, this is an adjustable ring, so it does not have to stay directly on the 8. You can keep it there if you want, if that's the size that you were aiming for on it and you want it to stay or start at that size. And we'll just spin it, hammer a little bit of it while I'm holding it in place on both sides. Spin once more. Just be very careful not to hit your fingers if you're holding it that close and hammering it that close. The last thing I like to do is where I cut these wires off and you see where the ends are, I'm going to hold my stone and just very, very carefully hammer the ends of those wires down so they stay in place a little bit better. And then the last thing I'm going to do is just check these curls here on that side and make sure that they've got a good curve going to it. There we go. Make sure there's nothing pokey for the wearer, and then you are ready to go. I definitely don't wear a size 8. But that's why they're adjustable, right? So we can go ahead and open this up. And you've got your adjustable ring made. I hope that helped. Let me know if you try it out. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe, and if there's any other tutorials you would like to see, feel free to comment those as well. I will see you on the next one.